Yeah, that's the thing. I don't mind using my own things, but yeah.
I've got access to stock photos anyway, and they're probably.
In fact, I can draw out of my own photo bank pictures that you would not use as your hero shot to compare to the pictures that we have used as our hero shot. And so, for example, everybody always takes a picture of.
Now that's the hero shot.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Sue?
Yeah, and stuff. Yeah,
I see a
thing you
cleaning
can
nightmare.
use. Yep.
Okay, so I'll welcome us. I'll float around, introduce us, and I'll say we're going to talk about further on.
Oh, lost you. Sorry, I've just lost you. What have I done? Sorry.
I'll maybe do a recap that we spoke last week. What did we just
Go up to your Google, up to your headline, grab it.
Sorry, I've just lost you guys. Sorry, small technical issue. I just bumped the computer and what's going on?
We are so tech savvy.
Go to the top of your screen where you got your little things across the top. Inbox,
Hang on.
meet.
Oh, got you back. Cool. Okay, sweet. Good to go, guys. Thank you. Apologies.
What did we talk about last week?
We talked about early stages of setup. We talked about checking with council, target market, styling for your avatar.
All right.
I think we need to talk about styling for a theme and a bit more about the hero shot, and then onto linen, etc.
All right.
Cleaners.
Season 1, episode 3. Can you believe it? Episode 3 of the STR Street Talk Show. I'm joined today by the entire crew. We've got Felicity back from New Zealand in Sydney.
Hi.
We've got Jeff filling in for Boris again. When are we getting a haircut, Jeff?
Probably Christmas.
At least you've shaved. I've got Meredith nodding her head there, agreeing. How are you, Meredith?
Jeff definitely needs a haircut.
And Sue Jordan, still sponsored by the NBN, coming in from the Sunshine Coast.
That wasn't a nice look. That was a side eye.
Well, last week we talked about many things, about setting up your Airbnb, including making plans for your target market, setting your avatar. We talked about a few other things. We talked about Felicity not being present. And this week we're going to delve a little bit more into our setup and some of the key basics. I'm going to throw to Sue.
Yeah. Okay. I was just going to take some notes here with the avatar, with the hero shot.
Tell us what a hero shot is.
Like is that I had the first shot that they see, it's the same in real estate, that first shot that they see captures that person. Why do they want to click on you? It's got to be important. It needs to tell a story in one photo. Who are you? Who are you attracting? So with my dog friendly, we'll always have a dog running on a beach, a dog I am a beach dog friendly property. I haven't changed my avatars in years because my hero shots for years because they've worked really, really well. And if I'm scrolling through, you'll go through and go, oh, friendly. I know a lovely one in my area actually has this really cute veranda, and there's a dog just running around across the veranda. Every time I scroll through my area, that photo stops me. It just says what it is. It's a nice home. It's got a lovely veranda and it's dog friendly. I know that we've used shot with the house in the background for a lot of family friendlies, because coming up to the Sunshine Coast, if you've got a large family friendly home, they want a pool. It's really important to people. For school holidays, September, January, December, Christmas, Easter, they all want pools here as well. So seeing that photo, they go, yep, that's a big house, that's going to suit me. That photo worked really well as well. So think about that if you're a rural setting, and if you're attracting maybe internationals and you're in a rural setting, have a kangaroo. in a yard, that sort of thing. They're going to stop and go, oh my kangaroos, and click on that. Just like we were talking before amongst ourselves, be a pattern, interrupt the pattern of the brain from monotonously just scrolling. Be a lounger in a world of bedrooms, as I said last week. That's my opinion. And showcase it, like I was explaining again before. I saw a property during the Commonwealth Games, and I was taking photos. I was taking screenshots of photos to do a presentation on poor hero shots, and this lady basically had her garage as a house. You could just see the garage, and I thought, I don't want to spend $8,500 to stay in your garage, thanks. Yet when I went to screen capture it, the next photo came up, and you'd spend $8,500 on that house. So she had the wrong property, the wrong hero shot.
So,
sorry.
How about I'll insert some what not to do photos and some good hero shots just down below. If you've got any other shots you want to stick in at any point, sing out, people.
And if it is a bedroom, like I know from some of them with, they've had beautiful bedrooms. I had one this week, had this beautiful lush. It's all about the bed. Make the bed look comfortable. Make it look lush. Have 4 minimum plus feature cushions plus a throw blanket. Make the bed look lush. Don't make your pillow look flat and uncomfortable. And yeah, people don't want to sleep on that. I have actually seen hero shots of, and I have some of them. I'm probably happy to share those hero shots of dirty mattress protectors, and that was a hero shot. Yeah, no.
I've got to agree, Sue. I mean, I've seen pictures where people have put up. I mean, why do you think a picture of the unclean toilet is going to get a guest to book? Or why do you think a picture of your kitchen with all the dishes and crap piled up all over the place is going to get somebody to book? The number of times you've got to tell people to tidy the kitchen, tidy the bathroom, tidy the bedroom, make it look presentable. You're trying to get people in here to come and stay. Nobody's going to book to stay somewhere that's got 6 weeks worth of food scraps sitting all over the kitchen. That's like quickest way to salmonella poisoning.
That brings up another point that I'd like to say. Some people don't clear out their personal belongings when they list, and I think that's a pretty important thing that we have to consider. If you're listing maybe a room in your home, that's a bit different. But if you're listing an apartment in your home, or an apartment anywhere, or you're listing your home when you're away, you need to remove a lot of the personal stuff. Not everything, but you don't want your undies in the drawer, and like Sue was saying, the dirty old covers. You really have to start thinking from the bottom up when you're presenting a place, don't you, Sue?
Yeah, like the one thing that is really interesting, the topic last week, and I had massive discussion with very, very good hosts, very good stylists. Like, these people really know what they're doing. So I was taking their opinion on this because something came up now. I personally don't like humans in photos. Now, I know there's people out there at the moment that are doing a lot of human shots. I've always found, and been the people that I spoke with who are very good hosts and been doing this for a very long time are the same as me. They don't like humans. Like the odd human maybe on a balcony in a distance with a cup of coffee or something, that's fine. What you're trying to achieve is you're trying to make that person wanting to book your property both see themselves there and feel. The most important thing is they can feel themselves. There's nothing wrong with staging a property, because I know Jeff does this really well with his charcuterie board. Having a blanket, having a glass of champagne, having a cheese board, having a cup of coffee and a book. So you've got this occasional chair with a throw over it and a cup of coffee and a book, and you go, I could see myself sitting there. I don't want to see a supermodel sitting in that chair.
So we want that sense of belonging, don't we? Which is what
we want
we're
that.
all about.
I want to. Yeah, so I found this one particular property recently that we assessed for a lady on the coast. And I said, I don't there's this model in the outdoor shower. There was a lady cutting up food in the kitchen. Well, I don't want to be in the kitchen with her. So a lovely pineapple that's cut in half with a fruit butter. Amazing. Oh my God, I could see myself doing that. But I don't want to see a supermodel doing it. You know, like it makes the space feel like it's shared as well by somebody else. You want to see and feel yourself there, not someone else. Like there's and then a photo, but then the dining room table, there were 6 people around there. Oh, gross. It was terrible. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. You can play with it yourselves. But I did speak to a lot of, I thought, is this just my opinion or is this opinions of others? And this one particularly is very good at styling, has amazing properties. And she said, no, people in photos, no from me. That makes me feel bad. So I don't know if anyone else's opinion on people in photos, but I personally don't like them.
No, I think you might be right there, Sue, but I really think we need to sort of move on to Wi-Fi. Who'd like to talk about Wi-Fi?
Well, I
Not
think
me, and if we're going to talk about Wi-Fi, I'll actually just hang up, because seriously, I actually don't need to be here. I have other things to do.
We're talking about
I'm going to
Wi-Fi
go.
people's listings.
Yep, it's important, and I'm actually going to go. You guys can talk about Wi-Fi.
oh, something going on there. That's not good. She must have had a tough weekend.
I think you
let's-
need to stop recording now.
Yeah, I'll edit that out.
You'll
Yeah.
edit that out. All right. Wi-Fi at my property used to be my single biggest complaint, because in regional parts, and when you get outside the city, to be fair, the NBN is not good. It's great when you're in Melbourne, no problems here. I have no problems when I'm in Sydney or in Hobart. But when you're in the middle of the Macedon Ranges, halfway up central Victoria, our Wi-Fi at our property used to be slightly better than dial-up. We literally used to plug the NBN modem into the telephone line in order to get it. And it would always drop out. And the problem that I had with that is that in some respects, I think, surely you're not coming to stay at my house to go online and play on your bloody iPad all weekend. Well, the reality is, if you were bringing children, yeah, they were. That's exactly what they were doing.
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I remember when I first started out hosting and Wi-Fi, the question was, do you offer free Wi-Fi or do you ask your guests to pay for Wi-Fi, or do you just not offer Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
And these days, I think in many, many properties, it's a given that you offer free Wi-Fi, and not just offer free Wi-Fi, you offer fast free Wi-Fi. I mean, some platforms even let you measure your Wi-Fi, and you can do this really effectively, and then it actually shows up on your listing. And I have heard of guests who have booked a property solely because of the rate of the Wi-Fi. So these are people who are generally traveling for work, from what I understand. They might be working for a big tech company and they have a lot of calls, or they have a lot of work they need to do, and they need fast, reliable Wi-Fi, and they will book a property that has fast, reliable Wi-Fi. So I think it's interesting. But then on the flip side, we also have that guest who wants to travel and they want to get out of the whole world of Wi-Fi. They don't want a device connected. So it's interesting. It's very
Totally.
interesting.
Yeah.
Mark, there's a little button down here. It's called
I
the
know
hand,
that. I know that one.
and then you get a queue.
I'm just happy to share with you that my Wi-Fi speed at the moment, that's listed on my profile, is 295 megabits per second. So Jeff and I, big Elon fans, and we've got the Starlink happening out here in regional Australia. So I don't think you need to quite get that high, but I think what a lot of our guests are looking for is to be able to have the call, to be able to join in on a Zoom and get an uninterrupted feed. I think the upload speed is just as important. Do you notice on those wet days in country Australia, Jeff, the upload speed, it used to be maybe around 5 and it will drop down to under 1 upload in 1 megabit
Yeah,
per second. That's
big one
kind
for
of
me was
impossible, isn't it?
big one for me was windy, dusty day. So if we were having a dust storm coming in off the desert, the dust really interferes. I mean, I switched over mainly because I suppose two things. Firstly, there's not good mobile reception in our area. In fact, you can't actually get some carriers. So to say to guests just hotspot was not a satisfactory answer. But also we needed to be able to provide guests with an alternative means to be able to contact emergency services if they needed to, when they couldn't connect via, Telstra or Optus or Vodafone. And the only way you can do that, obviously, is by connecting via Wi-Fi. So that was one real issue. I upgraded. I suppose I didn't necessarily. So we use Starlink, right? I don't necessarily use Starlink because it's Starlink. I use Starlink because it was the only other viable option that we had in our area outside of using a NBN product. If the NBN product had been upgraded enough, and we don't even have fibre to the node, we're up in the Goldfields district, so I don't know how it actually classifies as NBN. But I think part of it is thinking about, apart from being, I was an early adopter of Wi-Fi, we never charged for it. The reason we never charged for it was, and we've all stayed in hotels, nothing annoys me more than when the Sheraton wants to charge me $28 a day for Wi-Fi when I know it only costs me $60 a month for unlimited usage. So that used to really, really annoy the crap out of me. So we've always provided it for free. And then for me, it was a safety issue. We provided it, secondly, so that people could actually connect. Because at the same time as we took Wi-Fi on, we actually disconnected the landline telephone service.
What do you mentioned you don't charge for it, but do you think you get a premium, or
No.
put it another way, do you think you get bookings that come
No.
to you that wouldn't have come had
No.
you not had?
No, I get. Look, I've had a couple of bookings where they have specifically asked about the Wi-Fi. When I was originally hosting the executive producers of the block at the house, they wanted to know that they had good, reliable, fast Wi-Fi because they still needed to be able to work and converse with all parts of the business. But no, the average guest, no. I think the average guest assumes you have Wi-Fi. I don't get asked about it by the average guest. I don't think I get a premium for it. I think it's now an expectation. And I think more importantly, I know that when I book as a guest, when I've actually booked a property that did not have Wi-Fi up in Swan Hill, I'm thinking, what the hell? How does this work? Because we actually had to go down and buy a Telstra toggle to connect to the Wi-Fi, to actually create Wi-Fi. And I thought that was a rip-off.
So would you be more careful next time not to book?
I now check. So when I'm booking on Airbnb, there's a couple of filters that I actually use. Wi-Fi is one of them. If I'm coming to Queensland, air conditioning is one of them. And if it's the summer holidays, swimming pool is one of them. And I will cut out all properties that don't have aircon, swimming pools and Wi-Fi.
Can I say, if you are going to offer premium Wi-Fi or a premium sort of service, that for really good uninterrupted internet, you really need to have an Ethernet connection for your guest.
Yeah.
It's old style, but it works much better. That's what I have here. I plug in, and you don't get the dropouts that you get the up and down of Wi-Fi.
And that's an interesting point, Meredith, because when you think about it, in the good old days, when we did have dial-up, and let's face it, most of the people listening to us will not actually know what dial-up was. I was showing my own children, who are 21 and 22, how we used to plug the phone jack into the actual computer. I don't think we actually had dropouts. I think it was a far more stable connection.
And it still is a more stable connection, even with Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So with your Wi-Fi, do you set up a separate network so you've got a wall between you and your guests so that you
Definitely. Even on streaming services like Netflix, we have a wall. We have, how you set up for your children, so they have to have a code to be able to get in and can only get into children's programs. We have a separate guest section in Netflix so that our guests can't interrupt our viewing of our programs.
So in your Airbnb profile, do you put up a different network name and
Yes.
And you've got a
Yes.
different user, and your Netflix, are they password protected?
Yes.
Right.
Mine's
Robbie has
preloaded.
his own password for his programs. I have my password. We have one for the grandchildren when they come, and we have a guest password, which is very, very simple. But it's to stop, because when we first started offering Netflix to our guests, we'd be watching a particular series, and the guests might start watching the same series, and then we wouldn't know where we were up to. So it's much better this way, and for Wi-Fi purposes, they can't get into our system.
And which episode of the Teletubbies are you up to now?
Oh, I think we've seen all the series.
have you got to the Welly Yuppies yet?
Yeah.
The Welly
Right.
Yuppie.
Can I tell you one
Welly
of the-
Yuppies. Wellington, when I was growing up, got right into the Teletubbies, and the local radio station did these funny little takes on the Teletubbies, but set it to current events that were happening, and they were called the Welly Yuppies.
Can I tell you one of the
Look at
great
that.
things about Wi-Fi, which I'm currently investigating? There is a tech add-on you can get that requires the guest to put in their, and I know Mark's going to tell us more about this in a second, that gets the guest to put in their name, their email, and their phone number. And this is a great way to collect and start to build your own direct mailing client base for your properties.
You think your guests might be annoyed by that?
I'd be a bit worried about putting my information in there.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because I think about places we go to where we just do it all the time automatically when you're connecting to somebody else's system.
What do you think of? I mean, does the NBN offer less than 50 megabits per second these days?
It offers a lot, but it doesn't always provide it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the whole point of the NBN. You can your provider can offer you 200, and you might get 50. You can pay for a premium service. Doesn't mean you're going to get that premium service every day, and you do your best to provide your guests with a good service, but you are really at the whim of your provider and Mother Nature.
Would everyone agree that 50 is probably the minimum that you should be offering?
Well, it's, I have a disclaimer on my listing that says whilst we try to offer a premium service, we are at the whim of our providers, and we can't really take responsibility for it going lower.
Felicity.
I agree. I think 50 is probably the bare minimum for what guests would expect. It's difficult, isn't it? Because over the years, guests are expecting more and more and more and more and more. But as you say, we can opt in and buy the fastest Wi-Fi. But at the end of the day, we are as Meredith says, we are at the whim of the network, and we are at the whim of Mother Nature.
Yeah, I buy at home from Optus, whatever it is, 100 megabytes per second. I have never received that, ever. The best I have got was 53.
And that's the problem. That's the problem with Wi-Fi.
And I think part of it has to be, the service providers need to be held accountable. If they're selling you 100, they must surely know that they're not delivering you 100.
Maybe it's a test case for the ACCC.
That's
You
a
know-
great. Oh, that would be a good one. Let's do a group class action by Airbnb hosts.
You and I can fund a class action, Jeff.
And you know, the other
Perfect.
thing I think that can also be quite difficult is when you do have guests coming in from overseas, some of them are used to very, very quick Wi-Fi. So it can take a little bit of an adjustment for them to get used to our slightly slower Wi-Fi.
Like our Singaporean friends. I mean, aren't we all envious? Hey, I think we've probably covered the Wi-Fi. We've got Meredith's checklist, which you'll find below, and we comment. There's a link to Meredith's checklist, and it's bloody good, I have to say. So, do we want to cover anything else from some more of our basics?
I think the next on my checklist anyway is food and extra amenities. So this is a bit of a contentious issue as well. Do you or do you not provide tea and coffee, maybe some snacks? Personally, I think it's a good thing to do, and I think that it gets you better review stars and better reviews in total. But some people say it's very difficult because they have, they have to then get their housekeepers to restock and so on. Felicity.
Well, I think it's a really important one. When we set our cottage up, we set it up with the thought of, if we were going to stay there, what would we want to find? And if our parents were coming to stay, what would they want to find? I don't like to walk into an empty place. And
No.
I also have stayed in places where I've turned up and there's a centimetre of dishwashing liquid in the bottom of the dishwashing container. And I'm thinking, really? You can't even give me stuff to clean my dishes? That's a bit cheap. Especially when you're paying a premium, paying a pretty good dollar for it. And the other thing that I have is I actually have guests who come back to me, and one of the things they comment on is how well stocked our place is. And they said it's so nice to be able to walk in and know there'll be fresh milk in the fridge. There's plenty of tea bags and coffee pods. There's plenty of salt and pepper and tomato sauce. I don't have to go out and buy those basics, and I'm not going to run out of toilet paper.
Exactly.
You make a really good point. I've booked places in Noosa that I go to. $1,500 a night for a week, and you turn up and they leave me with 2 dishwasher tablets. A dishwasher tablet costs 29 cents, for God's sake. You're getting $1,500 a day from me, and you can't give me more than 2 dishwasher tablets.
Mark.
It drives me. I've rated people down based on the poor supply of amenities. We supply, obviously because of where we are, it's cold. There's unlimited firewood for guests, okay, for the winter. They want to use the wood fireplace. It's really nice. It looks pretty, very romantic. Okay, don't leave out 2 logs if somebody's staying there for 2 or 3 days. When I stay there, we would burn through 4 or 5, 6 logs a day. And I think that's one of the key points if you've ever tried it. If you stay in your own place and actually have a look at how much of something you use yourself, then that should be a pretty good guide about what you should be leaving for others.
I was actually thinking about this point, and I've got some very nice photos of your place and the fire, Jeff. We'd all love to come and drink your coffee and sip your tea. But what I was thinking before Sue cut out, poor Sue, was, and I was thinking about those hero shots, and I mean, we've got to put ourselves in the shoes of the paying guest, and what would we be looking for if we were staying there? And have any of us actually stayed in our own places recently?
Me.
As a guest, and actually deliberately sat there and thought, well, how can I improve? I'll throw Felicity because
Mark, good. I think it's a really good question. I haven't stayed in my place recently, but one of the things I was going to say is I actually have guests comment on the photos that I have in my listing of the amenities that are on display. So, as you know, I wear a sustainability hat, and these days more and more people are taking steps to reduce the waste that they have. So I have shots of my refillable products in the bathroom. and on the kitchen bench. And I now have guests calling me out and saying, hey, I love seeing that you're using those products. I know they're the refill products. So it's quite interesting. I mean, these are brands that are known locally in Australia, and they're Australia specific. So of course it's Australian guests, but it's interesting to see guests responding.
Are you a who gives a crap toilet paper user?
Well, actually, one of these, I actually have switched to
We had this
about-
conversation one night, didn't we, Felicity?
Yeah,
I was
we've
shocked.
done it. Jeff and I are the environmental auditors, aren't we?
Well, no, just wait till what Felicity's about to tell you, because I use recyclable bamboo until Felicity told me something to look at, which I did look at.
Look, I think the thing with sustainability is that we're always learning, and what might be the best product will change. And maybe in a few years' time, it might change to be something else. And we become more aware of things that are happening. So when it comes to toilet paper, I bought Who Gives a Crap for many years. Love the product. I love that it doesn't come with any plastic packaging, and those great rolls, they're always fun. I can use that as wrapping paper. It's brilliant. If you've ever had a present from me in the last 5 years, it's probably been wrapped in Who Gives a Crap wrapping paper. However, then I started thinking about the transport miles, and the Who Gives a Crap, fantastic product, but it's coming in from overseas. And I started to think, hang on, is there a product that's made locally from local materials that doesn't have the transport emissions? And so I have found a product, and so I've changed. The wrapping paper is quite fun, but not as colourful, and I'm a colourful girl. So yeah, I've got a mix of wrapping papers now. But
Use the hand.
But it's little things like this that we can make an impact with our decisions of what we buy and what we put in. And it's interesting to hear what guests say about it too.
Yeah. So for those that are interested in Felicity's sustainability tips, have a look down below. There's some links there. Meredith, you were going to say something.
No, I was just passing on to you, Mark, and telling you to use the hand down below instead of lifting your hand up. That's what it's all set up. We've got technology. We need to use it.
Well, maybe the four of us can get our heads together and put our suggested shopping lists and suggested quantities. I know we had someone stay for 24 days recently in one of our properties, and we didn't supply them 24 days worth of Nespresso coffee pods, but is it fair enough to supply people, enough to get them going for, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, and then if they're staying for 24, they can go and get their own?
Yes,
No,
I think, yes, I
don't think so.
for certain things, it's fair enough, because when it comes to toilet paper and body wash and shampoo and conditioner, that sort of thing, I think you need to supply that constantly. But as far as food's concerned, I think, you just provide them with maybe a welcome pack of food, and then after that, they supply their own. But toilet paper, I have the cupboard full of toilet paper, and if they run out of the shower gel, I'll replace it, etc. But food is another matter. I'm not going to constantly offer it. Flick.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I agree with you, Meredith. We set our plates up with enough, a welcome amenity pack of food that will last maybe 2 or 3 days, just a few basics. But when it comes to the products that we provide, like shampoo, conditioner, dishwashing liquid, laundry liquid, I really don't want my guests to go out and buy another plastic container full of that stuff. So I have refill products, but I have the luxury of living on site, so I can easily come home from work and find a bottle on the doorstep that says, please refill me. And I do. And we drop it over, we swap it over. But for people who are not living on site, that can be more of a challenge. So that might be where you need to work with your housekeeping team and say, okay, well, as you're setting up the properties, if you notice something's a bit low, let's swap it over. And you might have a cupboard under the stairs or a cupboard in the garage that you keep your products, and you can take them and swap them. And what's quite interesting is there are housekeeping companies out there who do offer refill services, where they will take and swap over your dishwashing liquid or your dishwashing powder.
Mark.
I think Jeff, I'm just reading Jeff's body language. You're going to say something.
Look, I'm at the other end of the spectrum, and where I have had guests stay for a week or for 2 weeks or something, we do go in and we restock everything halfway through or weekly if they're staying more than once a week. A bit like Felicity, I don't want them to have to go out and buy more stuff, which just gets churned into rubbish in the bin. So we switched over about a year and a half ago now to bulk amenity in the showers and the bathrooms and the kitchen, and they're always kept up to date. I was a bit worried about doing that because we had, like many hosts do, use the little, shampoos and conditioners, and I was kind of concerned initially as to what would be the guest reaction when we switched over. None. No negative reaction whatsoever. In fact, most common question is guests ask, what is the product and where can I buy it from for myself? So that's quite good.
But I think we're all agreed on that, the amenity side of it.
Yeah.
Just the food side of it that
But the food stuff,
we have made different.
yeah, I restocked the food for them. I restocked the coffee pods and the teas and the hot chocolates and more chocolates for them. So at my place, you only get wine and chocolates because everybody likes something for free. If you're there for 2 weeks, you'll get another batch of wine and chocolates halfway through. It's already factored into the nightly price, so it doesn't really impact the financials for me.
Well, it's interesting, Jeff, because I think you've hit on a very interesting topic there with the bulk amenities. I know when we started doing it, it seemed like a bit of a novelty, but over the years, I now notice that many hotels and accommodation providers are now opting for the bulk fill containers, and they've got dispensers in their bathrooms and in their other spaces where you can see, and they do say if you need it refilled, contact housekeeping and they'll come and swap it over for you. So it's not, once upon a time, some people thought, oh, that's a bit cheap. But these days, when you look at the range and the breadth of products, you've got things that are at a cheaper level, but you've also got products that are very high level. And you can choose what you want to put into your place. And there's so many different bulk varieties available, but it's no longer thought of as the icky thing. And the other thing about offering bulk refills is this is great for our waste management. So we have councils all over the world who and business and governments all over the world who are not quite so happy sometimes with what we're doing. And when we can talk about doing things like this, we are reducing the waste that goes into landfill. It's a small step, but it's a meaningful step. And it's also a great way to be a little bit more sustainable. And our guests don't have to do anything. All they've got to do is come and stay, enjoy it, and let us know when we need to refill if we've missed swapping it over. Fingers crossed we don't.
So something different from bulk amenities. Sorry, Mark, is where do you sit in relation to shared condiments? Tomato sauce, oil, barbecue sauce, all of those sorts of things. Because that, from a guest perspective, when I have stayed at houses that have them, no, never used it in a million years, unless I'm staying at Meredith's.
It's interesting, Jeff, because when I did speak before, I did mention tomato sauce, and I thought, oh, that's actually a bit of a faux pas. I don't keep tomato sauce in there because it's, it can be heat sensitive, and we're in Australia. There's a lot of heat around, and I don't want to have anything like that left behind.
The only things I share is oil, pepper and salt, that sort of thing.
Herbs and spices.
I do put herbs and spices. I do put a squeezy Vegemite in the fridge.
Oh, nice.
Squeezy Vegemite is a great welcome.
I did raise my hand as a Mr. Smith. Does anyone recall at a magic word summit? Does anyone recall at the last summit at the Margot Kimpton or the Kimpton Margot in Sydney how good those bulk Mr. Smith?
Oh yeah, that was great.
They were so sexy looking.
I looked up where you could try to buy them. I haven't found where to buy it from yet.
There's lots of different great amenities. Actually, I had
Here's one for you. Do you supply condoms?
No.
I do, but only in my couples property. Because there are so many times I've got a call from a male guest at 8:30 on a Sunday night. I mean, it's regional Victoria. There is nothing open. Maybe the garage, but there is absolutely nothing open. So, as a result of that, we now provide condoms.
Is that in your house rules, what to do to dispose of them?
Yeah, they do get instructions. They need to put them in the rubbish bin, not on the floor for the cleaner to pick up, and certainly not down the toilet, which clogs up the sewage system.
Okay, that brings up the next point I think we need to move on to, which is, are you going to be child friendly?
Well, Jeff thinks there's enough humans in the world, but what about you, Felicity?
Look, we are a family of 4, and when I started doing this, my children were 5 and 4, so they were very little, and we would go away for little weekends, little holidays here and there, and we wanted to stay in places that were child friendly, and some were, some weren't. And so I made sure that when we set our cottage up, I have made sure that I can make it as child friendly as possible. So we have things like a high chair. I even put a little bib around it so that if the mum's forgotten a bib or dad's forgotten a bib, you've got that. We have a range of toys, but we also do things like we have the little cutlery. Do you remember that little cutlery that kids use? So we have a couple of sets of those in there. We also have this sort of standard set of plastic bowls and cups and plates. It's really easy for them to use. We have toys, we have children's books.
Duplo?
Sorry?
Duplo?
No, I don't have Duplo, but I've got a range of toys. One of my favorite kids' books is the Lorax, of course, so that's definitely on the bookshelf. But we have lots of families come and stay, and they comment and they say, we love staying because we know you've got all of this. And then the other flip side is I get a lot of grandparents who come and stay with me, and they're visiting me while they're visiting the family in the area. And often what they'll do is they'll take the children to school, pick the children up from school, bring them back to the cottage. And this is like the kids are visiting granny and granddad's. So they'll come in and they'll play with the toys. The other thing we also do is we leave out buckets and spades. So the grandparents can take the grandkids down to the beach and build sandcastles, and they love it. So simple, so easy.
We may well do another episode on linen and cleaning and so on. But what do you do? What do you do with linen for your cots and your travel cots? Do you supply a travel cot? Like I
do.
Supply
Yes.
travel
I
cot.
supply a travel cot, but I make them bring their own linen for it.
Yeah.
And again, that's based on when Sarah and I used to travel with the kids when they were little. Sarah never wanted to use somebody else's linen, so we would always bring our own blankets and the kids' cuddy blankets and their lambskins, and so I just tell parents, we've got the high chair, we've got the porta cot, we've got all the plastic bowls and stuff you want, but you need to bring your own linen. And I've yet to find a new mum who's complained about having to bring her own linen.
We supply the linen, and I've never had a problem. Everybody's, if they don't want to use it, they don't. If they do want to use it, they do. I don't mind either way. So at least they don't have to bring extra stuff if they don't want to.
Yeah, I would think for Tasmania, do most of your guests, I would think there wouldn't be a lot of locals that come and stay with you. Is that a fair?
We do get locals, but most of them are interstate or overseas visitors. So it's a bit harder for people to bring their own baby stuff to us. So, we try to supply whatever we can.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We supply it, but we have recently had a family stay with us, and I set up the porta cot with the linen that we have and said to them before they arrived, look, the cottage is ready early. If you want to come in early, the bed's all set up so you can put your little one down for an afternoon sleep. And they said, thank you, that's really thoughtful and kind, but we've actually bought our own cot, so we will take yours down. So fine.
Yeah.
And they were from overseas?
Interstate.
Interstate.
Yeah.
But driving?
Driving, yes, yeah. But look, I
Yeah.
remember I went. We did a trip around the world with one of our oldest when he was 14 months old, and we took our own porta cot because we just didn't know what we would find where we were going, and it just folded down. They're brilliant these days. They fold right down, sit them in the
Yep.
suitcase, easy. Blow up the mattress, and you're good to go.
Do we think the Airbnb advertisements comparing the bedtimes at a hotel compared to an Airbnb, is that bang on?
Spot on, absolutely
Totally.
spot on. They're brilliant.
Totally. I once had to share a room at the Sheraton with Zach when he was 9 months old. It was awful. You can't even have the TV on.
Oh, poor Jeff. He couldn't watch his show.
But
I
I
felt
think
like going to bed at 5 p.m.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it, when you're in a hotel room with kids? Yeah, no, it's much better in an Airbnb. You know, one of the best things that we have here for kids friendly is the swing. I mean, I've always had a swing for the grandchildren that hangs off my deck. But I recently, a couple of years ago, upgraded it to adult strength. So it doesn't matter if an adult sits on it, you know, it's a good, strong swing. And the first thing kids do when they come here is they hop on the swing. And, you know, you can see the parents smile. Oh, my kid's happy. I think it's...
Meredith, I've popped some photos of your swing and my swing, but I did notice in the BDSM episode last week, the adult swing that Jeff absolutely swears by. But Felicity, sorry, you've got your hand up. What can I say?
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's interesting that we've both brought up swings because it is a really lovely feature that you can have. And I know we used to have a tire swing, and our kids love playing on it. And anytime we had friends over, the kids would rush over to it. And it takes me back to some guests that we had who came to stay with us, and they were a Swiss family, and they had two little girls similar ages. And one day they came back from their trip out, and we sort of were talking, and I said, look, do you guys want to come around for a cup of tea in the garden? And so they said, oh yes, love to. So they came round, and our kids were all playing together, and they were just fascinated by the swing. And it was wonderful to see these children just playing together happily. Language barriers were there, but they just got on, and it was all about playing on the swing. And I think that's one of the lovely things about hosting is you meet these families and you can form these connections, which are just great. And after that, we actually would make it a point of welcoming people with families to come around and play on the swing if they wanted to. It wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but we've met some really neat families and they've stayed in touch. And it's quite neat to see how their kids have grown up and our kids have grown up. And well, they're not really interested in swings anymore, but it's a neat icebreaker.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've covered a fair bit there. There's lots more that we could talk about, but I think we might call it a day at that. We've covered a fair bit of it, a fair few topics. Is there anything we need to really touch on today? Anything further?
Yes, but after you turn off the recording.
Is it about Jeff's BDSM swing?
One sec.
Turn off the recording and I'll tell you. See you later, everybody. This has been a great session. And when we come back next time, we've got so much more to talk about in setup.
And if you haven't, click the like, the subscribe, and send us a comment. Any comments, we're happy to receive. Thanks for joining us on Season 1, Episode 3 of the STR Street Talk Show. Thank you. Bye.
Go, Meredith.